Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and today in our studio will be the NIOH 2. So, the first NIOH went through a very long road and obviously difficult development process. Nevertheless, Team Ninja did it in 2016. It turned out to bring the long-suffering projects to release and present a new game that will surely sink into the soul of hardcore players. And now, after another 4 years, we are faced with NIOH 2, which first appeared on the PlayStation 4 and now reached the PC and PlayStation 5. It would seem that a world full of difficulties, battles, and adventures in feudal Japan will open up in front of us again, but unfortunately it did not work out. Everything is smooth. In part, NIOH 2 can be called the right sequel which fixed the errors of the first game and makes the small but sure improvements. But on the other hand, the project is still kept on self-repetition. If numbers scares you in the headline of NIOH 2, then you shouldn't pay any attention to it. Despite the fact that this is a sequel, and it's probably from this part that is worth starting your acquaintance with the series. The developers literally transferred all the gameplay mechanics from the original to the sequel, making only minor innovations. The plot component begins long before the events of the first part, so newcomers to the series will not miss anything. Connoisseurs of the series will also be satisfied because they can get pleasant improvements in the combat system and a new story in the familiar world. Unfortunately, the narrative of the NIOH 2 has undergone a clear degradation. In the first part, the plot was based on a partial basis of the script Akira Kurosawa, which sent players immediately into the heat of the battles between the warlike rulers of Japan. In the sequel, we will play the role of simple adventurers who, without missing much enthusiasm, are going to get rich and, at the same time, effortlessly gather a detachment of loyal comrades. Action is replaced by action, literally just like that. This is doubly disappointing because the plot was the interesting part. The main character in the sequel acts as a unique kind of half-breed, being a man and demons at the same time. The situation gets a little better towards the end, when the secret of our origin begins to reveal to us and we begin to interact with the historical figures. In NIOH 2, it is much more interesting to observe what is happening around us. Let the plot of the game now be completely invented. There was a place in it for historical characters that will be interesting to you thanks to the setting of feudal Japan. And in general, perhaps the most important merit of the sequel can be called the very places in which we will visit. There are many locations you have to go through here. Sheer cliffs, swamps, Japanese places of the area allow you to feel the very atmosphere with your soul. The only pity is that there are several elements that can stop your immersion in an interesting world without any problems. The first thing that may ever scare off in NIOH 2 is far from its complexity. The game can scare off with its visual component. If you compare the sequel and the original of 2016, you won't be able to find the differences right off the bat. The game is graphically outdated. It will not fix a port on a PC or a patch or a new generation of consoles. All the locations presented are scarce in terms of interior decoration and seem to consist of very narrow corridor, which really opens wide open spaces for you. The visual greatly saves the various effects, which in the second part add even more colors. Torch flames, moonlights, and your magic can paint a really interesting picture. Plus, do not forget that NIOH series is a hurricane action game where you will not stand still. Perhaps due to high pace of combat and different type of weapons, the developers simply had to sacrifice the scale. Hurricane action is never an extra generation for the game. Each of your opponent and even more, so the boss will not forgive you for mistakes. An extra blow, incorrect invasion, will lead to instant death at the hands of even an ordinary enemy in the very last location. This is the main innovation of NIOH 2. The game has become more balanced. Now, you will have fewer opportunities to stay alive. The general progression system will now prevent you from getting too far ahead of events and pumping. NIOH 2 does its job well. It hurts you and you will love it. but from anything else you should not expect any revolutions. If you're a fan of the genre, 100% I recommend you to buy this game. If you're even not a fan, you just give it a try, because my gameplay was so long. I was playing for 12 hours a day, imagine. Okay, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and peace. See you next time.